Peace, galactic peace, right?
Right.
What more could anybody want? Well, to clarify, as I recall from before, we don't really have a peace treaty and a bunch of promises. That has not happened. What we have is just everybody stopped a particular policy, whatever it may be. Each group just stopped doing something. And after talking to you, Helma, you talked about how the Avix were extremely ruthless in their expansion to other planets. That they would arrive at a planet, and if they found it suitable, everybody else just had to get off. And if they didn't, then that's too bad. So the the kind of ideology underlying that, cultural history, biological history, or whatever, is probably very, very complicated and very interesting. But the point is, it stopped. Now, what this means culturally to some sort of analyst in another time and another place would be probably understandable. To the Avix, they're in the thick of it, right? So, what changes have occurred as far as they would tell you at the moment? Why nothing? So, we will go and see an Avix world, which, as you, I'm sure, are not surprised to know, um, has a lot of unusual physical qualities to our eyes. One is the extensive cloud cover, which is pierced very much at a single altitude and very thick. And it is pierced by these spires of architecture, um, towers zooming up into the sky, and that they vary. Some of them are modified natural rock formations or formations of some kind. Others, on the other hand, are constructed. And still others are kind of hybrids. You know, they started as some sort of rock formation, but are now unrecognizable because they've been built up and altered so much. This one is one of those. Originally um, a mountain, but shaped and modified over time so that the actual shape of the original mountain is probably not discernible. But a great deal of the structure is natural rock in terms of its genuine structural integrity. So that's what I'm looking at in this particular administratively extremely important, long-standing, perhaps considered one of the core Avix worlds. Um, and there are a couple of things that I have to share with you for pictures.
Okay.
Everybody okay with the pictures, Helma?
Yep.
Okay,
I'm fine.
excellent. Well, I have lifted these from a supplement from a fairly, well, sadly, a fairly undistinguished role-playing game called Providence. And the terminology in there, like the labels for the names, we'll just use as indicators for play. That's not necessarily what they're called in our, in our story, in our game. Freetown is a sprawling community at ground level, spreading out in front of the main entrance to the tower at the base. However, I said main entrance, and that's not really true. Anybody who goes to the tower and considers himself and is welcome to have business on the inside and on the outside parts, um, wouldn't be going through the ground entrance. And so this is where the majority of the flightless Avix live. And it also includes its bad area, which is just off the map of Freetown, called the Boneyard, which is a system of weird tunnels and caverns and overgrown areas that have made effectively caves. Um, and Freetown is largely left to be self governing. In fact, it's expected that it be governed. And what the people, what the Avix, the flying Avix, want from the ground communities is not to be bothered, right? If you have a problem, then that's the problem. The fact that we're hearing about it. Um, so the system of the tower itself is kind of interesting because it's mostly inside. So I suppose you could say it's funny that the flightless individuals get to live under the open sky and the flight individuals live inside a cave, which is weird. But on the other hand, it's pierced and open in many places so that it's not entirely enclosed. The Sun Cavern is one of the many different uh, levels or chambers throughout the tower. This is one of the ones in the top. There's a system of 5 separate districts in the top, of which the Sun Cavern is one. There's a middle area which is the most extensive and lots and lots and lots and lots of levels and sectors, and then there's the bottom area, which isn't like a slum or anything, but it's kind of where there's an interface between flight and flightless Avix in terms of keeping the tower's technology in shape. So everybody kind of getting the idea of this whole structure and everything. Now, how does this relate to you guys? For the for most of Kixical's life or professional life was conducted in the middle level in the scholarly and cartographic and chronicler guild, which is a profession. Now she has a new job, which is much more administrative and much more organizational of things and people. You are like a department head now, but it's more than that. It's in you've been elevated in the guild itself, which would be one thing, but you've kind of entered into that world where like a high-ranking guild member is also serves in a particular governmental position for a while and then goes back and then goes back, depending on the political fortunes. So you are young for that role, but that's your situation. Um, the you are working with a subcommittee, which has enlisted a noted scholar of the ways of war, which I suppose we would just call foreign policy until this point. Um, so this would be Hibu, who is therefore you guys are actually spending more time. You actually meet to work in Hibu's very notable, relaxed place of work. I mean, people come to talk to Hibu from the government or whatever, just for opinions, just for advice, just for the wealth of wisdom. So if we look in the Sun Cavern and see this place that claims to be called There it is. It's labeled here the Calm Purity School, which we may retain as as the actual name. And as you can see, it's embedded in the wall of the Sun Cavern. The bottom of the cavern is a lake. Nobody walks around on the bottom level of the bottom floor of this enormous chamber. You fly from place to place. You don't like walk around. That's not. It's not like a. That's a lake at the bottom with places to hang out because it's pretty, not any kind of way to get from place to place. Um, now, what else? We have um, so okay, that's the thing. Hibu, you have been blessed with all of this knowledge coming to you from this young chronicler who was actually there, as in an assistant's capacity at the conference, and uh, different different leaderships are vying for what Hibu will say that would be beneficial to their continued success in policy and administrative circles. Nobody has said a word about restructuring the government. Nobody. The government's set up completely. It's completely associated with this policy of expansion and extermination. Although they don't call it that. I mean, nobody makes those people stay and fight. I mean, come on. So, but the government is, among other things, is set up for that to be an ongoing assumption. With that gone, one would think that a different organization might make sense. Everybody agrees with that as long as the current organization doesn't do anything to their part in the organization, and nothing is unfamiliar about what they do in the organization. So everybody's, it's a time of change, except for my department, of course.
Okay, just for clarification, somebody kicked me up the stairs. And then made sure to put me under Hibu's patronage.
No, not really. You're assigned to go work with Hibu, to provide your knowledge, to pay attention to what Hibu thinks, and to perhaps be clear about what Hibu is thinking about and might be ready to suggest.
Fine.
Right. So you're associated still now, or rather now you're more administratively associated with Nisa Nolotl and her policy and whatever dizzyingly complex governmental structures that she's now a big part of. So that's the big thing. Hibu, one of the big issues here is what the hell actually is all this? Right?
Right.
There is no peace treaty. There was no proposed structure of interaction with the other species. There is no, promises. The Avix have made no promises. It's just that this particular policy is stopping, and it is stopping. I mean, that's the thing. It is actually stopping. Everybody's promised to stop it, reform it, for forever. It's just not, don't do that, is flatly on the table. So, as for Carnivix, and I presume that Carnivix is no stranger to the Boneyard.
Yeah, I would imagine. Mm-hmm. I would imagine, like all of these places, he tries to go to, if they will allow him.
Well, in terms of going up into the tower and being involved in actual policy making or anything like that, forget it.
Right. Yep.
I mean, we have representatives to represent the will of the people, and the good of society. We have representatives for that. We have people that's their job to make
Right.
sure that all the society works together, that the proper order of things is maintained, and that everybody is understanding of their place in these things. And
Right.
so that's why would they need you? That's not
Right.
your job.
Right.
So but the bustle of Freetown and its economics with other land-based communities, and shall we say the transport and usage of goods that fell off the spaceships,
Right.
is very, very active. Freetown is not entirely a den of iniquity, but to most individuals living up in the towers, it would seem that way.
Right.
And the Boneyard, on the other hand, is in fact a den of iniquity. So, and it's not a single place; it's a whole bunch of different little, enclaves and stuff, and at least one group of hideous mutants, and you get the idea.
Yeah.
So,
put that in the Boneyard.
yeah. So I don't know which particular. I mean, we can kind of go by the little letters in terms of what's there. We may not call them by the same names eventually, but you can get the idea. I mean, let's see here. It says in one case, yes, the Unaccountables Cave.
Right.
That sounds kind of fun, whatever the Unaccountables
I know.
are for us. We may keep, but the point is, pick, one of these. It's probably this big. Yeah, D is pubs and bars. We've got inns and merchants. We've got a Wayfarer hangout. We have a place called the Emporium of the Sundry and Weird, which is not in our game. Thank you very much. No magic shops, thank you.
Right.
And let's see. And so we could easily say that one, C is some sort of establishment or some sort of place that you conduct your activities from.
Right. Yeah, probably a lot of like social services, stuff like that, for the people of Freetown and
Right.
the Boneyard and stuff like that.
Managing,
agitating enough so it gets heard up the spire.
Well, that's the problem. I mean, it's been pretty difficult to do such a thing. The big social problem that you face is that the grumbling about the way things are is certainly widespread, but equally widespread and strangely in parallel with it is fervent pride over being an Avix and what we have achieved, what we have done, putting our stamp on the galaxy. So grumble, grumble, grumble. I hate the way things are. Grumble, grumble. This sucks. Grumble, grumble. And we're great. And what are you, some sort of traitor for trying to change it?
If I don't like it, I should leave.
Yeah. You've heard that.
Yeah.
Carnivix has heard that before, I'm sure. But the trouble is,
Yes.
that's fine from the the flying Avix, right? All the little,
Right.
all those guys, fine, right? You expect something, some sort of marginalizing, but this is from the people you're trying to talk to.
Right. Well,
So that's just the general fabric of Carnivix's existence.
Right. Yep. The uphill battle against it's like, but you've been repressed. It's like, I don't mind it. It's like
or yeah, it's repressed. We should tell that government a thing or two. And what, are you criticizing the government?
Right. Okay. Well, yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to, I guess, enlighten people, agitate them enough that they're enlightened, or make them see, maybe even get a soapbox out there.